This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1073 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from the Horse Health segment on Horses in the Morning. This time out, Hit'em Crew is joined by Dr. Venable to talk about some very interesting research on colic that she is doing, complete with some ew moments for poor old Glenn. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from Kentucky Performance Products.
She swallowed hard as they walked into the start box. She could feel his muscles tense under her leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a great ride. She didn't have to ask. He galloped out of the box and across the field toward their first training level course. His ears pricked. Her heart pounded. He attacked each obstacle with confidence, clearing them with room to spare. A huge smile broke out on her face as she crossed through the finish flags. She leaned forward and buried her face in his neck. Their bond of love and trust blocked out all else. This love story is brought to you by Elevate. Research proven to have superior bioavailability. Elevate supplies the essential vitamin E often missing from the equine diet. Its all-natural formula supports healthy muscle and nerve functions. The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Call 859-873-2974 or visit kppusa.com to order today.
And I would like to welcome Dr. Erin Venable from the College of Agricultural Sciences at Southern Illinois University. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very glad to discuss horses with you this morning, and always glad to talk about ways that we can help keep our horses happier and healthier.
Absolutely. Now, just to get a picture of what you're dealing with right now, what is the weather like right now in Southern Illinois?
Well, it's about 40-ish degrees, and the sun is shining, so I can't complain. It could definitely be worse, but you know,
lovely.
In this part of the country, though, if you don't like the weather, just wait an hour and it'll be different. So we kind of take it day by day.
It could be snowing by the end of this conversation. You never know.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Now, you are the director of the equine program at the College of Ag Sciences, and you give us a little bit of kind of who you are, a little background.
Sure. I came to SIU and joined the team here after spending many wonderful years with the folks at Purina Animal Nutrition. And my years at Purina were fantastic, but they were also kind of frustrating in a way because there were so many questions that horse owners and veterinarians and managers had about colic and about nutrition and about ways that they wanted to fix problems related to their horse's performance, and we just didn't have the answers to those questions yet. And so one of the reasons why I was very glad to take the opportunity and join the team here at SIU was so that I would be able to do a little bit more research, a little bit more targeted towards kind of solving some of those problems that just we haven't been able to figure out yet in the equine community. And so very glad to have my years of experience at Purina to kind of guide me in helping to figure out what are the big problems that need to be solved and how can I get better information out there in the hands of the horse owners so that so we can do a better job taking care of our four-legged friends.
So you obviously studied colic mainly as your kind of, I guess, is it like a thesis or something like that, or is it just your passion?
That's right. It's my passion, and my PhD research was focused on the difference in the horse's microbiome that takes place when they have a colic episode versus when your horse is healthy. And we see a real difference. We see a difference in the bacterial profile. But the problem is that there's so much we don't know about the horse's microbial environment in the gastrointestinal tract. So we just needed more information. And so armed with that knowledge, basically, of what we don't know, I was able to design a research program here at SIU that kind of aims to answer some of those questions.
And this program that you've kind of invented, I guess, is it's called a sequel. You explain it.
Sure, I'm very glad to. So what we are utilizing is a surgical technique that's called cannulation. And cannulation is not new. It's a surgical technique that has been used in nutritional studies in virtually every species that we study nutrition in, and it's been used for decades and decades and decades. And the reason why it's so important to use in horses is because we need to know in real time what's going on in their gut, because the nutrition and the nutritional impact of dietary changes, of travel, of stress, of all of the different things that we try to manage in their lives, all of those things have an impact on their gut, specifically on their cecum. And a colic episode for a horse, as we all know, unfortunately, all too many times is fatal. And for a horse owner, it's an incredibly difficult, it's financially draining, it's emotionally draining, it's physically draining. And so if we can figure out what's going on in the gastrointestinal tract, then we can figure out ways to either prevent colic or facilitate a faster recovery from colic. And so by using these techniques, and cannulation is one of them, we can actually take samples directly out of their gastrointestinal tract. And that lets us know what's going on with the microorganisms, what's going on with different rates of digestion of different types of ingredients that we're feeding them. It lets us know exactly what we're impacting when we feed them a variety of different ingredients or different nutraceuticals or different probiotics or whatever we may be examining. So using this technique, this surgical technique, it gives us the opportunity to have a much more complete picture in terms of what's going on the inside of the horse versus just waiting to see if there are any symptoms that occur on the outside of the horse. Because as we all know, a lot of our horses are very stoic, and sometimes they may or may not be able to really kind of cue us in if there is in fact something that's changing or making them uncomfortable.
So what the article on Horse Talk says, that it says that a cecal cannulation procedure means the horse has a surgical portal through which researchers can access this section of the horse's gastrointestinal tract called the cecum, and that's the anterior portion of the large intestine. So my experience with the cecum is too many years ago, I don't even want to mention. I had a thoroughbred that had a full cecal bypass because he was colicking. I don't know if they do that anymore, or if that you're going to hear that and go, oh my gosh, that was terrible.
That's rather radical.
Yeah. Well, he ended up living several more years long.
Wow.
Anyway, so what I'm trying to visualize is, I know those Jersey cows that they put those little windows on the side and you can reach your arm into the Jersey cow. Is that kind of what this is? How does this look on the outside?
It's exactly the same. It's the exact same procedure. It's just been done.
That was my contribution. I had to throw in the U at this point. I'm sorry. I had to.
It's the same procedure. It's just been done on a much smaller scale. Obviously, we're not sticking our arms in there or anything like that. We the opening itself is about a 2-inch opening, and so the exterior portion of the fistula that has been fitted into the opening, there's an exterior kind of lip that holds it, on the outside, but the opening itself, the rubber stopper, it's only about 2 inches. And so we can pull the stopper out, we can take samples out, and I completely understand your kind of emotional, oh my gosh, that just, we don't like to think about doing that with horses. We don't like to think about using those kinds of techniques and those kinds of procedures with horses. And I really do understand where you're coming from. But the only other option to be able to answer these questions is to do terminal research. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to answer. I want to be able to answer these questions using horses that are, going to be pampered and taken care of and live a wonderful, wonderful life here. And they do. Believe me.
Dr. Venable, you got me wrong and I'm sure our listeners are thinking that, but to me, those horses are ambassadors for
Absolutely.
what the article says, 920,000 horses that suffer colic every year. And those are the reported episodes of colic.
Exactly.
So we're looking at almost 1 million horses a year, and you've got 8 horses that have this procedure done that are living very well.
Yes, they are.
So to me, they're ambassadors for the rest of us and our horses at home. You guys are trying to fix what all of us deal with, and our biggest fear as horse owners is colic. So I'm not angry at you for doing these procedures at all. I mean, my gosh, you're helping. These 8 horses are helping everybody's horses at home.
Well, and you have to understand, I get grossed out. I'm a horse husband. I get grossed out at any of this stuff. So, that's just.
Well,
so when you're talking about putting a cork in the side of a horse like a bottle of wine, that's where I just. That's why Jamie does it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's I don't guess any of the folks out there that actually work with the horses. We tend not to be a very squeamish group. We get our hands dirty and we've all got boots that actually get used in the barn for real barn work. They're not just boots that we put on to go out. So we're definitely all folks that we understand the reality, and I think the word that someone used best was it's terrifying. I mean that word colic, it kind of grips you with this paralysis because you are so afraid that it's going to happen, and we're so limited by what we know. The risk factors seem to be all over the place, and we just can't quite wrap our arms around it because it is so massive. And so I'm so glad to hear you say that you understand the incredibly important work that these 8 horses are doing for the rest of the horse population at large, because they are going to help us kind of unlock the mysteries and help us figure out ways to feed our horses better, to manage them better, to prevent colic, to help us figure out if we do have that colic episode, how do we help them recover faster? And so yeah, these 8 horses, they've definitely taken on a big job, but we're very excited to get to participate in that, and we're very excited at the information and the data that we're starting to get.
So what kind of stuff are you guys learning?
We actually have kind of a multitude of projects in the works. We've done a couple studies evaluating the impact of stress, and when we travel with our horses, we know that sometimes they go off feed, sometimes they go off water, sometimes they're obviously nervous and the environmental change impacts them, but we don't really know what impact that has on the microorganisms living in the gut. And so that was one of the very first studies that we conducted, and we're actually waiting on some of the final data to come back on that right now. So we're very excited to be able to see what the impact travel and the stress of travel has on the microorganisms in the gut.
Absolutely. I have a horse that traveled this past weekend, and when he goes somewhere, he doesn't eat. He gets so nervous that he just won't eat. And so I'm very interested in that data and how I can help him a little bit more. Go, oh, this is what you need. I put him on probiotics and Biotic 8 from Omega Alpha, but whatever else I can do, my gosh, that'd be great information.
And see, that's where I guess I'm a little bit different than other researchers, and that's where my years at Purina really kind of helped to shape what I wanted to do when I came here to SIU, because I want to answer questions that are real world questions. And I think that a lot of times that the disconnect that we have with researchers and veterinarians and horse owners is that horse owners feel like those people at the universities are studying stuff that's just so far away. It doesn't even have any real practical application for regular horse owner, but that's who I am, and that's who I spent so many years of my life working with and trying to find answers for. So if I can design studies that provide answers for those very real-world, everyday questions, then I'm doing some good. And my 8 horses that are standing out there doing this work, then they're doing some good, and that's all anybody wants. We just want to take the best care of our horses that we can, and that's why I came to SIU, and that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing.
Well, I think that's important to know that you're doing something that's real world, as opposed to when you read studies and you're like, really, that it's somebody just trying to get their PhD, and it's never going to help anybody ever. So that is fantastic. Fantastic work that you guys are doing, and I appreciate it. And it goes to show you, too, kind of how Purina, Purina works really hard to make sure that their formulations work for the horses by employing vets like you. So I'm glad you wanted to go on and do a little bit more and find those answers. So I appreciate it. I hope you keep us up to date on everything that's going on, and you solve the problem that all horse owners fear the worst.
Well, I will be glad to send you updates and let you know when we make our big discoveries.
Fantastic. And give all those horses, if they're allowed to have them, a carrot from all of us.
Will do. You guys have a great day.
Well, there you have it. You can find links to today's guests at horsetipdaily.com. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Kentucky Performance Products and listeners like you. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.